Students, in today's class, we'll see the development of a pentagonal pyramid, which is being cut by a section plane inclined at 45 degrees to the axis. Now, as we have discussed earlier, when you get such a question, the first thing you have to do is to identify which is a solid. So here the solid is a pyramid, and it is a pentagonal pyramid. So we'll start by drawing the plan and elevation of the solid. First draw the XY line. Then draw a pentagon which I have named A, B, C, D and E. So for drawing a pentagon, the condition given is it is resting on its base with one side of base perpendicular to VP. So that means one of these sides should be perpendicular to VP. So in this case, I have made the side AB as perpendicular to VP. So VP in the sense we can take XY line as a reference. So with respect to XY line, AB is now perpendicular. Now the angles which BC or AE makes with the other one will be 108 degrees. That is how you have to draw a pentagon. Now you locate the midpoint of the pentagon. So to locate the midpoint, you can join any one corner to the midpoint of the opposite side. So if you take D as a corner, draw a line from D towards the midpoint of AB. Similarly, from another corner, say from A, you draw a line towards the midpoint of CD. So they will intersect at a point which you can name it as O, the apex. Now you join O with all the corners. So join OA, OB, OC, etc. So this is the point O. Now you project lines to the XY line to get the point A dash, B dash, C dash, D dash and D dash. Then the height of the axis is given as 70 mm. So from this point on the XY line, draw a chain line at a height of 70 mm and mark that point as O dash. Now you join O dash with these points. You will get O dash A dash, O dash B dash, O dash D dash and the other 2 points. Now the fact is, if you measure O dash A dash or O dash C dash or O dash D dash, you can see that these three are of 3 different lengths. So we have to find out which is the true length of or the true slant edge length. So as you know, when we are drawing this development, you should always use the true dimension for it. Why? Because probably when we are drawing the plan and elevation, the sides may be at an angle. So in the view, they may not give the true length. So we have to identify which slant edge in the elevation is giving the true length. For that, you look at the plan. So you can see that OA, OB, OC, OE are inclined to the XY line. Only OD is parallel to the XY line. So we have learned in lines that if the plan is parallel to XY line, the elevation will give the true length. So in this case, only O dash D dash will give the true length. Why? Because the corresponding plan OD is parallel to XY line. So in the case of a square pyramid, which is the earlier problem, we have seen that none of those slant in the plan was parallel to XY line. So we were forced to rotate one of the slant and make them parallel to XY line and find the true slant edge. So in this case, since OD is parallel to XY line, O dash D dash will give the corresponding true length. Now the second case, it is cut by a section plane inclined at 45 degrees to the axis, inclined at 45 degrees to the axis and bisecting it, inclined at 45 degrees to the axis. Now this is the axis and it is being bisected. Bisected means from the midpoint. So from the midpoint, you have to find out what is the angle, or this cutting plane meets the axis at its midpoint. Now that is at an angle of 45 degrees. So this angle, either this one or this one, this angle will be 45 degrees. So with respect to axis, it has to make 45 degrees. And this is a cutting plane, and cutting plane is drawn as long line, short line, long line, short line. Now we will go with the development of surfaces. So we have find out what will be the actual true or actual length of the slant edge, and anyway the base is given, base is 30 mm. Now we have to go for the development. So development will nothing be Nothing but it will be a combination of 5 triangles. So the thing which we should keep in mind is that when we are starting with any one corner, let be A, it should always end with the same corner A. If you are starting with B, it should be B, C, D, E, A and B. Or if you are starting with A, B, C, D, E and A. Why? Because when we are joining the two faces or when we are folding them together, A and A should join together. Then only it will make a closed solid. Now coming to the development part, we have find out the true length of the slant edge, which is O dash D dash. So you first draw a line. So it is better to have it over here. Since I'm having space constraint, I'm drawing this on this side. So I have drawn a line. So better to draw a thin line because you are asked to draw the development of the remaining surface. Look at this question, draw the development of the remaining portion of the solid. So I've drawn a line whose length is equal to OA. So I'll mark it as OA. So for the development, we are using capital letters for naming. So OA. You can start with any corner. So I'm starting with OA. And the next step is that for drawing the development of a pyramid, you have to draw an arc with OS center and OA, or with the actual length of the slant edge radius, you have to draw an arc. So I'm going to draw an arc with OA as radius and O as center, and O as center. I'm drawing an arc. Now take the compass. The base is given as 30 mm, or you can measure AB or BC, anyone. And from A, you can mark a point from A. Place a compass in A, cut an arc 30 mm radius on this arc, and that will be the point B. With B as center, the next arc you will get C. With C as center, the next arc as D, E, and you should end up with A, and the last one is A. Now you join OB using thin lines. Join OB, OC, OD, OE, and OA. Okay, now we have the cutting plane here, and this cutting plane is meeting O dash, A dash, and O dash, B dash at this point. But we have drawn OA and OB with some other length which is not equal to O dash, A dash. So we have used a true length O dash, D dash for drawing capital OA or capital OB. So if you plot this distance over this development, that will give you a wrong answer. For what you should do is that you have to find out what will be the corresponding point in the true length line or the actual length. So for that, you have to find out what will be the corresponding location. So you can draw a horizontal line from A dash, from this point where the cutting plane cuts this slant edge, and project that to the true length slant edge to this point. Similarly, you find the next true length as well, which is the point on O dash C dash or O dash E dash. Now you measure this one either from O dash to this point, and you transfer that to OA. So this point, so this length either from O dash you measure or from D dash you measure. So that corresponds to O dash A dash and O dash B dash. So you mark that point on OA, OB, and again OA here. Now the second point is C and D. So you measure this distance on a compass along this true length line or the line which you have used for drawing this development, and mark it over here. C, and the next is E. Don't make a mistake, it is E. It's the next line. And the last one is this point on O dash D dash. So you transfer that here. And for joining this, you should understand that if it is a pyramid, if you are cutting that with a plane, the section will be continuous line. So arc will be used for cone and cylinders, and for solids and prisms, for pyramids and prisms, you have to use continuous lines. So I'm joining these points using continuous line. So I'll use thick lines for this. And in the question, you are asked to draw the development of the remaining portion. So that means you have to highlight the remaining portion. So this is the remaining portion, and base you join like this. This is the base, this is another base, and join all this. So this gives the final answer. Now, apart from this, you have to do the dimensions, which all dimensions are given in the question. That also you have to mark. And so you can show 30 over here. The dimension is side is 30. This height is has to be shown as 70. And on the right top, you have to write scale 1:1. Okay. So this gives the development of a pentagonal prism. Sorry, pyramid.